discussions focused on the nuclear issue, and I did emphasize at a meeting that it doesn't mean that I do not have the authority to talk about Syria, but our policy is that we talk with the United States only regarding the nuclear issues. Some have, in fact, misinterpreted this. The Islamic Republic of Iran's foreign ministry has the authority to discuss all foreign policy issues. But our policy is that we merely discuss the nuclear issue with the United States, and we do not consider other issues to be relevant to our bilateral talks with the U.S. And based on our decision, we only discuss the nuclear issue with the U.S. Mr. Ahmad Sami from Russia Al-Yawm television network.
سيدي المدني الأمين على المنظمة مرحبا بك في طهران. سؤالنا هو ما هي الخطوات التي اتخذتها المنظمة للحلول
Mr. Secretary General, what steps
والتطرف الذي أصبح يضرب المنطقة وأغلب الدول الإسلامية
has the OIC taken for preventing violence and for preventing extremism? And how can the OIC take measures in this regard? And has the Islamic Republic of Iran's measures been helpful for resolving regional issues? Now, regarding your question on OIC's performance in countering extremism, I have to state that extremism is normally attributed to groups that are not seeking extremism or a hardline approach. What matters for us is that we should not allow enemies of Islam to misuse this issue or level allegations against or prevent leveling allegations against groups that are just seeking to restore their rights, but those who speak in the name of Islam and at the same time trample upon others' rights, this is our responsibility to act within the framework of the OIC, as we have done before, in order to, and I believe that the media can play an important role, and we should not allow others to accuse us of, we should not allow others to accuse us of extremist measures. And we try to prevent any fatwa that would be to the benefit of our enemies. The OIC, founded in the world of Islam, can play an effective role in tackling problems faced by the world of Islam. We have always called on the OIC to play such a role. Basically, the OIC has been set up for just dealing with the Palestinian issue, and hopefully through unity and solidarity we'll be able to restore the rights of Palestinians, and the OIC have a basic role to play in this regard, because basically the organization has been established for just finding a solution to the Palestinian issue, and this organization has the capability to play this role, and the Islamic Republic of Iran will certainly help the organization and its member states in this regard. Mr. Kazemi from Fars News Agency. I would like to welcome Mr. Madani and greetings to Mr. Zarif. My first question from Mr. Madani, you mentioned that the terrorist groups are maybe certain groups that are defending their rights, and we cannot name them as terrorist groups. As the OIC Secretary General, who are the terrorists? What are the terrorist groups? Those who just explode bombs and target civilians, are they considered as terrorists? And my question from Mr. Zarif is that, Ms. Chairman, in addition to remarks about the nuclear issue, she made other remarks about our domestic issues, such as the country's economic projects. What is your standpoint in this regard? Thank you. I wish to thank Fars News Agency for its follow-up of various analyses. When I talk of groups, I'm referring to groups that are defending their rights based on international, and they're doing this based on international rules and regulations. Our brothers in Palestine are an example. We cannot accuse the Palestinians of being hardliners or extremists or terrorists. Speaking of groups that are operating in southern Philippines, in Myanmar, we cannot name them as extremist groups. Those who are seeking their basic rights, their fundamental rights, and act on the basis of international rules and regulations and do not violate moral values, we do agree with them. This does not mean that at the same time, we support the media that are supporting the killing of people. What I'm trying to say is that one should defend the rights of the people. When we are not supposed to respond to any irrelevant comment. We believe that the Islamic Republic of Iran has reached that point of strength and power in this region in such a way that there's no need to respond to any irrelevant comment. They know very well who the Iranian people consider as being responsible for the pressures exerted as a result of unjust sanctions imposed. And sometimes these comments are made in the United States for responding to the domestic pressures and satisfying the press groups there. And these groups basically oppose the nuclear deal, and they seek to foment insecurity and tension in this region. The American negotiating team, regretfully, sometimes the American negotiating team feels that they have to somehow be responsive to these irrelevant pressures. But I recommend our friends in the media here to just not be concerned about such irrelevant remarks and have a more powerful approach in this regard. The last question by a journalist from IRNA. Greetings to you, a very warm welcome to you. My question from Mr. Madani is that the OIC, what positive role can the OIC play in resolving the Syrian crisis and at the same time reducing terrorist activities in the region? Among the topics raised yesterday, Ms. Sherman, in her comments at the Senate, she said that we have made promises to Iran only, as far as the sanctions are concerned, we have made promises only with respect to the nuclear issue.
شكرا ولكني أعتقد أنني تناولت الوضع في سوريا وما يخص الجماعات.
I think I've spoken about the Syrian issue and also the groups that are present there. I earlier responded to that question, and I did earlier respond to your question.
دوستان بدونن ما با آمریکا و با 5+1 فقط درباره موضوع هسته‌ای صحبت
We only discussed the nuclear issue with the United States and the 5+1 group, and we have not negotiated about other issues. And we consider all U.S. sanctions as illegal and also ineffective and unuseful. And we have emphasized that the only outcome of U.S. sanctions was the manufacturing of 18,000 centrifuges, and that has increased Iranian people's skepticism towards American policies. And they even imposed sanctions on the import of medicine and pharmaceutical products. We generally consider these sanctions as illegal, and at the same time, our negotiations with the 5+1 group or 3+3, or as our Arab brothers say, the 6th group. The negotiations only revolve around the nuclear issue, and we do not negotiate any other topic. We do not accept any other issue to find its way into our negotiations. The comments made by Ms. Sherman that are not directly related to the nuclear issue, such topics will have no place in our negotiations. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, and have a nice day.
Live from the Iranian capital, Tehran, that was Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif holding a joint press conference with newly elected Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Mr. Iyad Madani. Mr. Zarif opened his comments stating that he welcomes his guest, Iyad Madani, which is a newly appointed Secretary General of the OIC. Zarif stated that Iran attaches great significance to the OIC, and that there were also constructive talks held about sectarianism in the region. He also stated that Iran's nuclear technology is a non-negotiable issue, and there's no need for negotiations over these facilities, which Iran, he stated, is seeking peaceful purposes through these facilities and through its nuclear energy program. He also stated that his talks with the Secretary of State John Kerry only focused on the nuclear issue. In his closing comments, Mr. Zarif stated that sanctions, the U.S. sanctions on Iran, are illegal, ineffective, and unuseful. Mr. Madani, for his part, on Syria, said that the issue there can only be resolved by Syrians themselves, and that Syria's territorial integrity must be protected, and that a certain social balance must be created there. On the issue of Palestine, he said that that's the most important concern of the OIC, and that the Israeli settlements are illegal under international law and must be stopped. Of course, we've got plenty more to come here on Press TV. For now, we're going to return to the normal course of programming.